animation industry, we invited Jessica, Supervising Director on The Loud House, and Leslie, Development Manager at Nickelodeon, as well as Sam and Kimberly, 2D animators from Sisler High School, to speak about the Orange Tree Project, a collaboration between the talented students at Sisler Create and mentors at Nickelodeon. So, Sam, Kimberly, and Jessica and Leslie, welcome to the stream.
Hi, thanks for inviting us.
Yes, thank you so much.
So I wanted to start off with a very broad general question, which is, why is mentorship important for artists entering the animation industry? And I wanted to start with the mentors. So Jessica and Leslie, why do you feel mentorship is so important?
Mentorship is important because it shows young people that have an interest in animation that it is a very possible job to achieve. And if I'm doing it, I can share my knowledge and anything I can to help, guide them on their journey into it. It's very helpful for that, just giving them an entrance to the world of it all.
Yeah, I echo what Jess is saying, and we'll add to that. And when I graduated, I didn't know that the job that I am working right now even existed. So mentorship can also hopefully open a realm of possibility for folks, a spectrum of awareness of what kinds of jobs or roles are possible within the animation industry. Also, mentorship, I've been an entry-level person. I've been trying to get my foot in the door. I've gone to a million meetings with a million people and hoping that they would remember me. And so to be able to turn around and do that same thing for others is really valuable, and to let them know that the path that you're on right now, so many people have walked it before you, and it is yours and it is distinct, but you can still get to where you want to go, even if it looks a little different. And also mentors can let folks know if what's happening to them maybe in their entry-level job or internship is normal. You shouldn't be working 80 hours a week. You shouldn't be like pulling all-nighters constantly. That sort of stuff, like, you shouldn't be doing. So having mentors present to have that awareness of, as well, of what is and isn't appropriate in terms of workplace is also valuable.
And Kimberly, as someone who's gone through this mentorship program, how do you feel about it?
Oh, I'm so thankful to have done it because before this, I didn't really know what I wanted to do because there wasn't a lot of information about the animation industry. So having the mentors here, it showed me what it's like to work on a production as well as to gain feedback. And I think in my generation, it's had that sort of mystery with the animation industry has sort of ended because of all the new information out on YouTube and of course programs like this. So I'm very thankful to have our mentors here to help me bring me closer to my dream.
And Sam, how do you feel about mentorship in the animation industry?
I think mentorship is super important, and like everyone else's everyone else's takes. I think that the information that you can get from a mentor is super valuable, considering if you go online and just search for a listicle of top things to do and planning for something in animation, that's helpful when you're starting out. But when you're actually getting into it, hyper specific criticisms on things that you're personally struggling with on a project, I think is super important, because general things are very good to have. It's very good to have fundamentals, but it's also very good to be able to fine tune things, and that's something a mentor can do for you. And also someone telling you to stop is also super important, because you just want to keep going on this one part, but there's a deadline. So once something is good, having someone to tell you that you're allowed to move on and you're allowed to think of other things is very, very nice to have, because I know that I want everything to be absolutely perfect, but sometimes you can't do that because, again, just a deadline.
So let's talk about mentorship. Jessica, can you tell the audience about yourself and how the Orange Tree Project was pitched to you?
Yeah, it was just kind of came up in an email. I'm Canadian, so I got excited to work with a bunch of kids out in Canada. You know, it kind of spoke to me, obviously, being from there. Just if I wanted to come in and help a group of kids from high school make a short film and just sort of pop in every month for a couple hours and give them some feedback on every step of the production that it takes to create a short film. So naturally, I was very interested to see what, you know, younger people were doing, you know, with today's technology. Because when I was in high school, it was very different. It was just very, very cool to see how excited these kids were to just create. It really inspired me again, like that feeling. You forget, as you know, I've been in the industry now for 20 years, and you forget that youthfulness and that excitement when you first enter. So it was I was really glad I took them up on the offer to mentor, because it really gave me a lot as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And Leslie, you mentioned that you didn't know that your job existed when you were in high school. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about like what an average day is for a development manager?
Yeah, sure. So the beautiful thing about working in series development is that every day is really different. We have a bunch of projects in various stages of development. We're working with creators all the time to make sure that their vision is coming through, that we're keeping it on track for something that could be on Nickelodeon someday. So trying to stay true to like what the Nickelodeon brand is and our tenants, making sure it's really funny, checking in with kids to make sure that they are in agreement with what we're seeing. All of our testing staff here is really helpful for that as well. Oh my gosh, we do green lights. We at times will cross over from development into current series to stay with productions that we've worked on and continue to help them through their first season, maybe when there's still some development work to do. But every day is really different, which I'm sorry is not a very good answer. But it's mostly talking with creatives about their work and being the first fans of something, or being the first person to view a story that's living outside of a creative's brain for the first time. All of that stuff is stuff that I love doing and stuff that I'm stoked to do every single day.
All right. So, Sam and Kimberly, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves and give us a quick synopsis of your short film and series pitch?
So I can go first, I guess. So hello, my name is Kimberly Chau. I'm in grade 12. I'm part of the Sister Create program, as said, and I really love animation, 2D animation. That's like why I joined the Sister Create program, because it seemed so fun and interesting. So for our short Eclipse, it's about Moon, who is working on a little working to win a magic fair, but her older sister Sun keeps butting in because, you know, Sun has done this magic fair tons of times and she's super good at being a witch. So she wants to help, but Moon sees it more as like Sun sort of just showing off. So Moon doesn't want her help. She wants to be better, and that causes a conflict, and the two girls end up having to fight a big monster because they made a mistake in their potions, and they're able to work it through. And then for our series, it's about a 13-year-old girl, Daisy. She lives in an underground city called the Metropolis, and it's protected by a dome. And what it protects from is the dangers outside. So Daisy just wants to be a good, upstanding citizen, gain money, and support her aging mom. But she's thrown off this plan when one day a girl falls through the protective dome. And turns out this girl is from a civilization outside, which is, how is that possible? There's no one out there. So she ventures off from her original plan because she needs to know more about this outside world. So that was a lot of information. But yeah, that was our short and our series for this year. I'll pass it on to Sam.
Hi, I'm Sam, and I am also a grade 12 student at Sisler who is taking create classes. And I really love animation. It's one of the things I'm most passionate about. The second thing, just being like picking up random hobbies that I also use like for animation. Like right now, I'm making a crochet version of one of our characters, Squawk, and Kim is like me and Kim worked on the same short last year, but I'm working on a different series this year, so I can explain that. So our series is called Miri in Monster Haven, and it's about two sisters, Miri and Kay. And one day, after a falling out between them, Kay runs away, and Miri follows her through a mysterious portal that takes her to this world called Monster Haven, which is a magical world filled with monsters that we clearly don't have here. There, she befriends like an outlaw group of misfit monsters who agree to help her find her sister, while Kay learns about magic and independence under a mysterious mentor figure named Belarus. And like the series is like mostly about their relationship.
So I just want to say that these projects sound really ambitious, and I cannot imagine working on any of this as a high school student. So I'm just really blown away by that. Did you want to share some of the materials that you had produced during this process?
Yeah, for sure. Kim, you want to start?
Oh, yes. Sure. Okay. So I'll show first some of my work from. Oh, geez. Oh my.
This is live.
Yes, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, that's how you can tell this is live. It's unedited. We're just going right into the discussion. So this is a process shot, correct?
Yes. So it shows like my rough with no camera because this includes a run cycle, and then the line, which is basically the cleaned up rough, and then the final with all the compositing and coloring. So this is a little scene from Eclipse, our short from last year. And this is Moon running to defeat a big monster. Yeah. And then
That's awesome.
thank you. And then this second clip is from our series. Yeah, so that was our animation test for the series. And that's all I have to show.
All right.
I love the buff
So
bats.
We love
that was
them
really
too.
impressive. So I wanted to ask the mentors. Jessica, how does your experience in animation inform your feedback and guidance that you can provide as a mentor?
I definitely just sort of go off of the industry standard when leading them through a short film, just sort of all of the knowledge I've gained over the years, I guess. I mean, it's an art form, right? So everyone has their own way of doing things and their own style of animation, right? So for me, I wasn't really like telling them what to do. It was just more sort of letting them know like ways, let's say in the animation process, like, oh, I think this animation is great, but if you take a couple frames out of here, you'll feel that weight a bit more when she falls. Just like little tips, like timing and structure of their style of drawing, like maybe something wasn't drawn completely with like the proper structure. So I can kind of just sort of give them the basics, I guess, of drawing and color theory and all of that, and sort of support what they're doing in their style, because I was definitely not there to like shape it into the way I would do it. It was more like, how can I enhance what their look and their feel of their short is? Because I mean, as you can see, their artwork's amazing, especially for students that were in grade 11 at the time, and I keep referring to you guys as kids, and I feel like, I probably shouldn't call you kids, you're young adults. And yeah, the work that these young people did is just unreal. When I was in college, I graduated 2003, and like leaving college, we just had like sheets of drawings and maybe an animation pencil, rough animation reel that we would have on like a VHS that we would hand out to studios. So the fact that they have this in their portfolio to show like, this is what I've created, this is as part of, I mean, it's such an amazing thing for these girls to have. My team was all girls too, so we had a good time. We were like the lady crew.
Yeah, it's really cool that you can have a finished short with color, compositing, sound, everything. And it's also striking too, as you mentioned, like animation is a discipline that has a lot of different disciplines within it. You have to know how to draw characters, not only with correct volumes, but also have them be appealing and know about like timing and understand all these different steps in the process. So I can see that being a really really a crash course through the animation pipeline. Leslie, from your point of view, how does your experience inform your feedback and guidance as a mentor?
Yeah, I think it's striking a balance between wanting to give students as close to a real world example of what it would be like to work with someone in development, a development executive. I receive their material, I review it, we get together, we talk about the feedback. But I take an extra step in this particular mentorship program where I try to make sure I'm showing them enough behind the curtain of why am I giving this note? Why is it important that we outline these specific things? I'm trying to, in my mind, project the optics of what someone unfamiliar with the project will be bringing to it, right? So trying to provide that extra just meat of like where this feedback is coming from and what the hope is to achieve with it. But a lot of it is really similar to what Jess is saying. Like, I'm not there to control a vision. I'm there to support it, to make sure that it's the best version of itself. A lot of challenge and development can come from not knowing what you want to say and not being sure of the story you want to tell. And that was not a problem with our students here, which is why instead of only doing one series project with the entire class rallying together around one idea, we ended up executing on all four and trying to create materials that if they wanted to go and pitch to a studio, they would have everything they would need to do that really effectively.
So, Sam, I wanted to ask, as a participant in the program, as a student, and as a filmmaker, how did your short and series develop and evolve over the course of the project?
Oh, yeah. So our short, we had like a pretty stable vision of it, like from the start. Like, of course, like the first like few weeks were a little messy just trying to get that story. But like once we got the story, like most of the time was spent refining it because originally it was going to be like a lot longer because we wanted to focus on both sisters, but we ended up like focusing more on Moon because we only had like a limited time to do the short and like a limited time to explore their stories. So we decided like having one clearer story, like clear wrapped up story is better than like two that we'd have to rush. And for the series, we yeah, I think we also had like a pretty good idea of what the story was like at the start. And the challenge was just keeping the original spirit, I think, like as things move forward, because like things get more complicated and you have to keep a lot more things in check. And you also have to like manage a lot of people while doing that. So yeah, I think development was just refining the stories we already had without losing like the original spark that they had in the first place.
And Kimberly, how would you describe your experience in the program as a student and filmmaker? And how did your short and pilot, short and series develop as the program progressed?
So for Eclipse, I actually worked a bit on the animatic, and that was that was a fun experience because that was like the first time I was doing actually fully fleshed out animatic, and we were really struggling with, like Sam said, the telling both stories at the same time. So we just switched to one, and I found that with the animatic, we really had to keep like a lot of had to be more details because I think we kind of focused on too much like rushing it rather than making sure that all the details were there, because we really just wanted to prove ourselves, I guess. And for the production with series, it was a lot of more concept art compared to the shorts, because we only have to do like an animatic, whereas with the shorts we have to do a fully fleshed out product. So with series, we first started with world building, and from there we built our characters. And I found like the hardest part was that so in our series we have a lot of characters, and we need to make sure their overarching stories, like how they develop, is seen throughout the first season and is like consistent and makes sense. And I found what we were struggling with a lot was like we kept overcomplicating it, and luckily our mentors were there to help like simplify it for us, or to help us have our vision more clear, help us clear it out.
So I wanted to ask, Jessica, from your point of view, what should students think about when planning an animated short?
Well, if you're planning a short and you're a student, I think the best thing is a simple concept that really sort of shows your personal style and flair, and then think about like what is the message that you're trying to get out there. And like just going from my own experience, when I was a young adult, so I was done in college, but I had just started to experiment with Flash because that was the new technology at the time. And I created a short film to a little song I really liked, and I put that on the internet, and I made it to sort of say, this is what I'm capable of. I can animate, I can design. So I think if you're a student and you're on, like, I don't know, it depends also if you're on your own or if you have a group of friends that you're doing it with. I mean, there's a lot of superpower that comes with a group, but if you're just trying to also create your own personal animated piece, I think you just sort of got to go with something that excites you because you want to finish it as well. And don't like, I think quality over quantity is a good thing too. Like small, smart concepts. I wouldn't go longer than a minute if you're on your own, minute, 2 minutes max, and just sort of keep it short and sweet. And I can't stress quality over quantity any more than I already have. Yeah, I think that's all I can really say on that. And it also just depends on sort of what your superpowers are and what you want to show. I wanted to be a director. I wanted to show that I can sort of create something, and I can make a short film from start to finish and do all of the roles on my own and sort of submit that. And I just posted it out on YouTube, and then it got me a job at Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I think that the advice to keep the runtime short on an animated short, if you are a student working on a thesis film or something on your own, it's a really good idea because otherwise, what is a minute times 12 to 24 frames a second on everything that you're animating? That can be a lot. Leslie, from your point of view, what should students think about when planning an animated short?
I think the most important thing for any kind of creative process that involves characters is understanding who those characters are, how they relate to one another, and how they engage with one another. Because those relationships are the things that bring us back to content. I think you could name probably any fictional series, be it book or television, podcasts. And the reasons why we go back is because we enjoy the company of those characters. Even if we maybe don't like them, even if we want to tune in to see what terrible thing they'll do, like we are enjoying being a part of their story and a part of their space. And so those characters, their relationships, how they move through the world, what drives them, all of those things are going to be what's sticky to someone. That's going to be what brings people back. I did not watch Ted Lasso because of soccer. I watched Ted Lasso because of those characters. I don't love pirates, but I watched all of Our Flag Means Death. Not for the piracy, for the people. So just make sure that you know who those characters are and you know how they engage with one another.
I could talk about those two shows for hours, but this is a discussion about mentorship and the Orange Tree Project. So, Sam, I wanted to ask you, what did the process of planning look like on both your short and series, and how long did that planning process take?
Okay. Does it say that my name is Jamie Leduc? Well, that's
let's not worry about that right
Yeah.
now. I know you're Sam.
Okay. For planning the short, we spent half of our year in pre-production, and planning it was super collaborative. Everyone had their own say on like what we should do, and it was really helpful, but at certain parts like it was a little messy because of course everyone has their own vision of what they want to do. So that like first year we like really spent refining the story. Like first half of the year we really spent refining the story, refining the storyboards, refining the characters, and then the other half of the year was like mostly just production and animating. And for the series, like most of the year was pre-production. We've only started a lot of our like animatic stuff and animation stuff of like maybe like 2-ish months before the deadline, because yeah, again, we really wanted to have our scripts like fully done, and we wanted to have like everything like fully thought out before we thought of like making an animatic, because like having a good script I think is a very important like fundamental piece, because if your script like isn't good, then your storyboard artists might get confused. Like you want it to be like not too general, but also not too specific that it's taking up a lot of pages. So we spent like a lot of time on that. And we also spent a lot of time on our pitch Bible, because it's like, yeah, like again, like you want to be able to understand the series without like having to like be there yourself to explain it. Like if you pick this book up off the street, you would probably be able to understand it. So I'm glad we spent a lot of time on that.
What kind of materials were inside your pitch Bible?
So we had like a few pages for our characters, we had a few pages for our worlds and some of the lore, because like Miriam Monster Haven is not set in our world. So it's important to like understand like the lore, because I think a lot of people would be interested in that. We have a few episode synopsises, and we also had like an outline of how we wanted the season to go, like what the characters' arcs were going to be, and where we were planning on taking the series in the future, even though we are only planning for one season.
That's really cool. Kimberly, how about you? What did the process of planning your short and series look like, and how long did that process take?
So, like Sam said, it took about like half the year for the short, developing that. When I think back on it, I think we were really struggling with like we knew what we wanted for the beginning and end, but around the middle, which is like the most important, the obstacle, we weren't really sure what the obstacle would be. So we spent a lot of time figuring that out. And to make sure that everybody had a say, and it was also this was like really fun, is that everybody made their own thumbnails or sort of like beat boards of what they see the sequence of the short happening. So like looking back on that, everybody like Eclipse totally could have been different from what it was, but I think we chose the best sort of options. And for a series, we spent a lot of time building that pitch Bible and creating all of our concept art. Like Sam said, or what's similar to Sam said, is that in our story, we had to really make sure the lore behind our world made sense. And because in our world, there's a lot of different beliefs and sort of lies happening, we really need to make sure that came out clearly, and that we also presented it very clearly in our writing, because me and my partners here are much more visual people, so had to really write that out. Oh, and script writing. Yeah, script writing was a struggle because we are not writers, but we had people there to help us, and we learned how to do things like write jokes, write out dialogue, and have good pacing in a written form.
Jessica, for artists and animators who are interested in being mentors themselves, do you want to talk a little bit about what your involvement in this was like on a typical day?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a daily involvement. It was mostly monthly. So I would meet with my team every month at every big milestone they completed. So like the first milestone was like figuring out the idea. And I'd meet with them for about an hour and we would talk about it. And then they would go off and do their thing. And then we'd meet a month later, you know? So it was just like, it wasn't a huge commitment time-wise on my end. And then maybe some extra time here and there, just sending them notes and thoughts on their production and different elements of their designs and animation. But yeah, you're basically just meeting every month and just seeing, you know, what they're up to and watching it progress slowly and then kind of guiding them to the next step. And then you check in the next month. So it was really fun for me because like, it was always like a little surprise coming, you know, well, what are they going to do this month? Let's see. So it's fun. And if you're really busy, it's not going to take up, you know, all your hours or an amount every day. It's pretty spread out. So it's manageable if you're considering it as an artist in the industry already.
Would you have any advice for artists who are interested in being mentors?
Any advice? I think just being very, you know, open and not feeling like you have to necessarily, I don't want to like instruct in the way of telling them like what to do. It's more just sharing your own knowledge and just being interested in seeing how a young person develops in their journey in the art. I think it's just a matter of like, you can sort of be insecure, like, oh, do I even know what to tell these people that are learning? Like, I'm not qualified, I'm not a teacher. But I think you forget when you're in it how much knowledge you really do have. So even if you've only been in the industry 2 years, I mean, the knowledge you can give somebody who's in high school is just so valuable. So I think it's a matter of like, just having the interest of wanting to reach out and connect with a younger group is the main thing.
Yeah, I think even just being present and being a sounding board could be really helpful.
Yeah, that's kind of what you are. And then just sharing any knowledge you have. And then not realizing like what you get out of it too. Like you think you're sharing your time, but you're also getting a lot out of it, interacting with the younger generation that's coming up in the industry. Because I find a lot of, you know, my peers, we get to a certain place in our career where we forget that energy and that rush of wanting to prove yourself and showing your ideas. And I think to see that again, it's contagious. You start to pick it up, you know, yourself and bring that back to your career. So I think it's really valuable. If someone's considering doing it, I would say go for it.
All right. And Leslie, what was your involvement as a mentor like on a typical session with your groups?
Yeah, so I first want to clarify that I am not the only mentor who is a part of this process. The fantastic Revati Dumse, Olivia Kerrigan, and Clark Jacobs, all four of us were working with these students. Initially, we were all together on all the projects, and then we were like, whoa, this is maybe too much work for all of us to be doing consistently, because that's 4 sets of Bibles, that's 4 sets of scripts, that's 4 sets of notes. So we ended up dividing up the projects amongst ourselves. So like I worked on Miriam Monster Haven, Revati worked on Day's Eye. So we could really like try to replicate that communication and that process between a development executive and creators, because development is more than anything a conversation. It is questions and answers back and forth. It is kind of wandering down paths together and like pontificating together about what something could be, always with the goal of making sure that we are being true to that original spark and intent, as Sam put it. But in regards to like time commitment, really comparable to Jess. We would meet maybe once a month, or sometimes we would receive materials earlier if they were ready earlier, so we could give feedback a little bit ahead of time. And when we got together, we would talk about the material we had received, ask our questions, pose questions to the creatives. Have you thought about this? Or are you intending this? Or have you thought maybe about executing in a slightly different way? And then after that, we would send a write-up of those notes to the creatives so they could have those resources as they proceeded on to their next steps.
Sam, I wanted to ask you, what was the most challenging moment during the production process on the short, and what were you most proud of?
For me, the most challenging part was the concept art and beatboard phase, because I think that it's super important to have your money shots nailed down early, because those are going to be like the selling points of your film. And since we were working on a short film, I thought that like the character designs had to be super good, because you're only going to be with them for a very short amount of time. So their designs have to say a lot about them, as opposed to like working in series where character designs are important, but you're going to be spending a lot more time with your characters. So it's like it's okay to add some more like personal and aesthetic touches. And my like for series, I think the hardest thing was just writing the script because like my partner is like wrote a lot of it, but I thought that like just like refining the script to be good for storyboarding was so difficult, because you want it to be like really, you really wanted to sell your, you really want to sell your pilot, because it's what people are going to be like judging you on. And the thing that I was most proud of with the shorts was the animation, because I remember a year later I was in the grade 11 animation class, and one of them made a comment about, wow, I can't believe that this was hand drawn. And I was like, you thought we rigged that? I was so flattered. And for series, I was also really proud of the animation because I worked on a lot of it, and I'm also really proud of our characters because I think they're all so cute.
And Kimberly, I want to throw the same question to you. What was the most challenging moment during the production process of the short, and what were you most proud of?
So for most challenging for short, I would agree with Sam that the beat boards and getting those money shots were difficult, and because like that's your foundation, and I had a lot of trouble with that throughout the shorts, is setting a good foundation. For example, my next challenge was during the rough animation phase. I really made my rough animations way too rough, where I needed to keep coming back to them as I was cleaning, which really interrupted my process and my flow. So that was one of the challenging things I had to learn, which was set that good foundation so that you can build off of it properly. Then for series, the most challenging thing, like Sam said as well, script writing, because both me and Sierra have never written scripts before, and we're also much more visual. So we needed help learning how to do that. And as well as writing jokes and writing dialogue for script writing, that was tough because I don't know how to be funny. So, and then another difficult thing was creating the story arcs for our characters, because we kind of just kept, like I said before, overcomplicating it, because we were thinking like, oh, they're this, but they're also this. And then we realized in the end, like, okay, yeah, we're complicating too much. They're very simple. Like, this character is just selfish. And yeah, that's so learning how to simplify things and not get lost in the sauce is something we have to learn. Oh, and then most proud of no negatives here, or too many negatives. For shorts, I was really proud of the color story we had for Eclipse. I kind of played a part in that, so it was very fun because we got to use very colorful and bright colors. And then what I was most proud of for series was when we were able to get like a good script. That was very fun. And then I'm also very proud of our Bible. I think we were able to communicate our ideas very well through it, as well as making the presentation and reading through it very fun. So yeah, that's my answer.
That's awesome. So, Jessica, I wanted to ask you, for artists who are interested in finding mentors or feedback about their projects, do you have any advice?
I think, programs like the Nickelodeon one, the mentorship program are great. And I think a lot of the times it's just, if you can make connections, even like on Instagram or something with somebody, hi, I really like you. But there's a way of doing it. You don't just sort of say, take a look at my work. It's sort of like, hi, I really enjoy your work. Give a little spiel. I'm in grade 11. Would you be interested in taking a look at some of my drawings? I would really appreciate it. Because I have just, honestly, I think I've met one or two people that I have done that with online from social media, who just sort of went about it really well, and they made me intrigued to want to see what they were up to. So I think that could be an option. I mean, it's hard because everyone's so busy doing their thing, and but if you can find any type of program, I think that would also be a good option. I don't really know, honestly, I don't know a lot of mentorship programs besides this one, because this is like my first time doing a mentorship. But as I said, I think it's the way you present yourself in an online space to a professional that will sort of intrigue them to want to take a look and maybe reach out and give you a hand.
And Leslie, do you have any advice for artists who are interested in getting feedback from either mentors or from other artists?
Yeah, I think, as much as we talk about mentorship frequently being like someone higher up than you kind of giving you these insights, like there's such value in peer mentoring as well. One of the things that Sisler did was they had a big gathering of like their students and like students from another school who are doing a similar mentorship program to come and share their work with one another. They had the insights of what that process was. They were fresh eyes, and they were able to provide insight to one another that was just as valuable as any insight I might have been able to provide as well. We're fortunate to live in a world with a multitude of storytelling, which means we all get to be experts to some extent. If you're a storyteller, then that means everyone can have an opinion about your work. So get used to that. It's not like accounting and people can argue with you. But I do think it is challenging to find mentors in the larger industry simply because you're asking someone for a time commitment. You're asking someone for an emotional commitment. The work that we do is not just as simple as like, let me help you with math. It's an investment, right? And not only is it an investment in someone's work, but it's also investment in them as people. I think that's why program mentorships are so valuable, because the folks who are opting in to mentor in them are like, I'm here and I want to do this, as opposed to like getting cold called. Through LinkedIn, through Instagram, like it becomes a little trickier. And I think especially, at least for development executives, like I can't take unsolicited pitches. I can't do that. The reason why I'm able to take the pitches from these students is because of our partnership and getting to work with them on it. But I would say Women in Animation is a great thing to look into. They have discounted memberships for students. They have a lot of mentorship programs. There's more and more mentorship opportunities, I think, appearing, especially in kind of a post-COVID era. These types of I'm not from Canada, but now I'm so happy to have some connections that are there, right? We're able to have these mentorships thanks to the technology that we've, I think, spent the last couple of years really improving upon. And on top of all of that, oftentimes when you're working, you will meet people and work under people that you admire, and you will build like working relationships with them that maybe someday can graduate into a more formal mentorship. But creating that initial relationship first, especially if you're not in a program, if you're just kind of figuring it out and kind of pulling mentors where you can. Something that I was told a lot is that folks in animation will hire you if like, that's the person I want to pass at 3 a.m. when we're both still at the office after a really long and tiring day. Those are the people that I want to be in the trenches with, working really hard and communing with. So that's something to keep in mind as well, kind of what, not necessarily just good vibes or like always optimistic, but like be yourself, be authentic, know what you want, and be vocal about what you want too, within reason, of course.
Sam, I wanted to ask you, what did you get to learn during this program, during the short and the series development?
I actually learned so much during this. It's crazy. And after I finished, I could show you guys some stuff that I made, like that you guys helped me with, because I didn't get to do that earlier in the call. But one of the biggest, like most important things I learned was about the animation pipeline. Like that thing is beautiful. In grade 10, I made a short by myself, and I animated it on just 4 different Harmony files instead of like by scene. And that made like files like super chunky. It made everything like super difficult. You wanted to change something, it like messes up something else. It also like helps me because I wanted to rush the pre-production in my short, but like they really focused on nailing the pre-production, which I thought was super helpful because you think if you rush the pre-production, you'll spend like a lot more time animating, but you spend a lot of time revising because I'm not happy with that. I'm not happy with this. And it was super messy. So like the mentorship like really helped refine just like how I went about things, and it really made the process of creating something so much more efficient. And for series, I learned a lot about like the inner workings, like scripts. I've never touched a script before. Like we are like, yeah, we just had like a little notes document with like all of the lines and it. So writing a script was a very different experience, and like just like planning for the long term was a different experience. And like I also learned a lot about just animating, like, and can I show like something that I animated for this?
Please, there are about 10 minutes left, so if you want to show something, now's the time to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Here's just like a little animation test that I'm working on for our series, and there's no sound yet. If it loads, hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Maybe if I like.
While that is loading, oh, perfect.
So yeah, that's just a work in progress right now, but we're gonna get it done by the time you see it again, Leslie, I promise.
And Kimberly, what did you get to learn during this program?
So last year on Eclipse, learning about that animation pipeline, like Sam said, was so fun because I just really like when there's stages to things, very clear stages, like this is what we're doing, now this is what we're doing, and then this is the last stage. It was very nice having that clear direction. And we also learned, again, that setting that good foundation or having good pre-production, which will help in the future, and being less uptight about cleaning the animation, because I find that took a lot of time, and I was like nitpicking over like a 1 pixel difference or something, and not very efficient. So less uptight about or being less of a perfectionist, and of course learning more about animation, like the principles, really practicing putting in that squash and stretch, stuff like that. Also the thickness tool in Harmony, oh, the best tool. I infected all of my team members into liking that.
Kim was a disease. No one uses a different tool now. Everyone is on the fixed thickness tool.
Exactly, that was the goal. Then for a series, script writing, definitely. I kind of wish we learned that last year because so this year for series, we're also doing an animatic, and it has to be 11 minutes. And thank God we did a script because we wouldn't have to do like so many revisions. And last year we had to do a lot. So I find having a script is actually like super helpful. And with series as well, I actually learned more about storyboarding because I had to be more involved in the process because, again, the animatics, like the big thing.
I just want to say for the record, Sam and Kimberly are underselling their writing abilities because I laughed out loud reading those scripts. And any development executive with their salt will tell you do not always laugh out loud at a script. So you two are better writers than you're giving yourselves credit for.
Thank you.
Leslie, with that in mind, I wanted to ask you, what is your advice for artists who are interested in pursuing a career in animation?
Whew, man, saving the tough questions for last. Keep the faith. People are in animation because they want to be and because they love it and because they find purpose in it. And if you want to be in this industry, then like we're excited to have you. We're excited to have folks who want to be here and who want to be creating. People don't come to animation for the money. They come to it because they love it, because it impacted them, because they want to share that impact farther down the line to future generations of kids or grown-ups or however old you want to be watching cartoons, and consume content. It can be animated. It can be live action. It's all storytelling and it's all valuable to some extent. Even the stuff you don't like, ask yourself why you don't like it. Examine what maybe could be changed to make you enjoy something more. All of that kind of critical story thinking is a part of being in animation, whether it's visual or written. But I think the big one is like, keep the faith, keep trying, keep putting yourself out there, because it only has to work once. You only have to get your foot in the door that one time, and then you have to bring all your talent and skills and all the hard work you've been doing. And when people call you an overnight success, you and your friends will know it was actually 5 to 10 years, but that is okay.
And Jessica, what is your advice for artists interested in pursuing a career in animation?
I think getting your foot in the door, it's really good if you're on the visual side of things to sort of put a focus on what your superpower is. Everyone's kind of got something they're a little bit stronger in. So like for me, it was more like character design. And that's sort of how I sort of formulated my portfolio, was to showcase a lot of my character work and try to get in that way. And then if you are interested in, let's say, like me, I was really good at characters, but I wanted to be a director. So that kind of grew while I was in the industry, because through my character design, I was able to prove myself to then be given a opportunity to storyboard. And then from there, I proved myself to be able to direct, and then supervising director. And then I ended up running a show at one point. So once you realize, animation's for me, I eat, sleep, drink animation. I love drawing. Just even ask some colleagues, like, here's my portfolio. What do you think my strongest, friends, whatever, what do you think my strongest thing is? What should I lead with? And then you can start to do studio tests with your, knowing, like, let's say you're really good at color. You'll do some color tests. And then once you're in, you make friends. And a lot of the industry is who you know. And if you're a really fun, creative person to work with, people are always going to want to talk to you and get you back on different productions. I've seen it happen a million times. Getting your foot in the door can kind of be the hardest thing, because it is a lot of who you know. But, we do like getting fresh people in. So if you submit a great test, there's your foot in the door. But yeah, I would just say hone in on your super talents. And then if you want to evolve, you will once you're in the door. And you could even go somewhere where you don't even see yourself going, which is the fun part, because there are so many roles. So that's kind of the fun evolution of getting into the industry. You could become something you didn't even think you'd become.
All right. Well, we are running out of time. So I wanted to go around and just ask everybody, where can our viewers find more of your work, starting with the students? Sam, where can our viewers find more of your work?
Hi, you can find more of my work on behance.com/SXETTO. That's like the art handle that I use on mostly everything. And you can also find me on LinkedIn, but I haven't posted on LinkedIn yet. I'm just trying to like connect with more people because, again, I would like to have a job. And it's called. Oh, I also wanted to say I wanted to shout out the cutter tool and the transfer line art to color layer tool on Toon Boom Harmony, because those two are my favorite, most lovely tools of all time. And also the onion skin layer. Thank you.
That is the most inside Toon Boom baseball answer I've ever heard. So congratulations, Sam. Kimberly, where can viewers find more of your work?
You can find more of my work on Behance as well, just Kimberly Chau. And I'm also on LinkedIn, but again, I haven't posted. I'm also trying to learn the ins and out of it and connecting with people. I also have an Instagram called Kim__Chau Chau. And yeah, those are my socials.
And Jessica, where can our viewers find more of what you do?
I mostly just post my personal stuff on Instagram at Jessica Borutski. My professional work as of lately has been on Nickelodeon on the Loud House. So, but all my fun drawings I just do for, my own pleasure are all on Instagram.
And Leslie, where can people find more of what you do?
That's a tricky question because what I do is invisible and is only clear in the content that comes out. I help to develop our Big Nate series that is on Paramount Plus and is very, very funny. Highly recommend. I also worked on our Monster High animated series and our Transformers animated series coming out later in the nebulous future. So if you watch those shows and you love them, you're welcome. And if you watch those shows and you're mad about it, I'm sorry, maybe they're not for you. And I'm sorry about that, but we did our best. But you can find me on Twitter at a Wang Doodle. I believe it's living in the chat somewhere. I'm not super active on Twitter, so don't get too excited about it. I mostly use it to creep on all my favorite artists and writers.
All right. Sam, Kimberly, Jessica, Leslie, thank you all for joining us for day 2 of the Animation Trends event powered by Toon Boom Animation. If you enjoyed today's discussion, be sure to join us for day 3. Topics will include the anime production pipeline, a panel discussion with Mercury Filmworks on the making of Hilda, and a discussion with 3 animation artists on their careers in animation. You won't want to miss it, so be sure to tune in.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for having me.